they're experiencing this unpleasant feeling, okay, to go to a grave, go to a funeral. But the thing that we have to realize, that person that we see there, one day is going to be us. And what will be our condition? Now, this is the last thing I want to say. If the angel of death came to you right now, are you ready? Are you ready? If you're not ready, you better be ready. Thank you, Mr. Sheikh Khalid, for those excellent words of insight. Now I'd like to call upon Mr. Thabiti Anyabwile for his words on the topic.
This is a precious gift. Thank you. Cheers for that. Assalamu alaikum. It is a great pleasure to be here and sharing with you today. Let me, before I make my comments, just say a number of words of greeting. This is my first time in this part of the world, and I've been received with such hospitality. I've been so well cared for, so well welcomed, and I am rich because of that. So I thank you for that. I want to thank the Muslim Student Association and their leader, Maria, and I want to thank the Christian Fellowship Club and their president and vice president. You guys are a model of what intelligent, thoughtful friendship and discourse can be. And though it's widely said that these kinds of things happen more often in other parts of the world, it probably happens less often than we think. And less often still does it happen well. And so I thank you for how you are modeling this and establishing what I hope will be a good relationship between those organizations and a good relationship with students on the campus. Let me thank Wollongong University. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly, but I do want to thank you for being a leader in this sense, creating a space for students to think and share together and consider the big questions in life. It is a great pleasure to share with you, and I want to do something, in one sense, my friend has made my talk easy because in point of fact, almost everything he said I agree with. And so I'm going to sort of do this talk maybe a little bit differently in the interest of letting you know me, as well as you help me to know Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. I want to sort of talk about this a little bit from a personal perspective. And let me start with a statement that might, first of all, let me find out what my time number is, because I can talk all the other things. They got two of them for me. Let me start with a statement that might surprise you a little bit. I am now a Christian because I was once a committed Muslim. I am now a Christian because I was once a faithful Muslim. Now let me try to unpack that a little bit because it sounds a contradiction. I said a moment ago that my friend, I agree with everything he said as a Muslim. And I think he gave you a good and true and honest, faithful presentation of what a Muslim holds, what a Muslim believes. A Muslim believes that there's but one God, and that one God is the creator of all, heaven, earth, seen and unseen. I believe that now. That God is self-existent. There was nothing before God, and there's nothing upon which God depends for his existence. He is free and he's self-contained and nothing contributes to God. God is infinite in his glory, he's infinite in his holiness, he's infinite in his mercy, he's infinite in his majesty, he's infinite in his goodness, he's infinite in his justice. God is infinite in all that he is, and nothing contributes to him. I believe that as a Muslim. I believe that God provides, as my friend said, for all of life. Just in the way that God is not dependent on anything, everything else, though, is dependent on God. That God provides for all of our needs. And apart from his provision, all of us would perish. I believe that God is the beginning and the end. He is in the Greek language, the Alpha and the Omega. All these things I believe as a Muslim. I was committed as a Muslim to the prophets and believing in the prophets. He's become all. But something happened with me, even as I was endeavoring to be faithful as a Muslim. My friend said, and he's right, that all of us need to study the big questions in life. We need to know what we believe and why we believe it. We need to know what evidence supports that belief. And as a Muslim, as one who believes in the revelation of Allah in the Quran and who accepted the tradition of the Hadith, as a Muslim, I understood that it was my responsibility to seek knowledge, to apply my mind, to study the faith. Now, what happened to me was a certain set of difficulties there, because as a Muslim, I believed in all the books. Quran, Injil, believed in the Quran. I believe in all of the prophets. And if I took that seriously, then what that meant was I had to know something about what the prophets said, about what the books said. Now, as a Muslim, I also believe that the books of Moses and the Gospels, the books that record the life and account of Jesus, were corrupted. I believe that they had been changed by fathers and centuries, and that they couldn't be trusted unless affirmed by the Quran or other sort of books in the Muslim tradition. Those are things that I hold dear. But as an honest investigator, it was up to me to examine the history and to examine the evidence and to come to have some, not just a basis in faith, but a basis in fact. If my faith was going to be more than just a blind leap into the dark, then it had to rest upon some foundation. And for me, the process of discovery, of looking at the evidence, and looking at the history, and looking at the resources, was how I was going to have a faith in my mind, more credible, more solid. The purpose of an open mind is to close it on something solid. And so we open our minds and become more sure in the knowledge that we attain. So that was the course I set out on. Now, what was interesting to me then was that if I said, let me just set the level playing field, and let me set aside at least some assumptions, and let me read the books on their own merit, on their own terms, I came to a number of troubling conclusions. As I read the Gospels, for example, I just want to read a little passage for you here. It's a famous passage in Christendom. And I want to read just a couple of sections. This is, if you have the Bible, or you can find the Bible in comparative religion. I don't know if it's on that CD or whatever, but you can find this, and I would encourage you to study these things for yourselves. In one of the Gospels, the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, we read, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him, nothing was made that was made. In him was life. And in verse 14, it says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Let me read another passage in John. Just going over a couple chapters. John chapter 3, beginning in verse 1. This is a slightly longer passage, so I beg you to listen more with me. There was a man of the Pharisees. Now, the Pharisees was a religious sect of Judaism at the time, so this is a Jewish religious leader. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The man came to Jesus by night and said to him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from God. We know what can do these signs that you do unless God is with it. As a Muslim, I believe in miracles. And I believe that most Muslims do that Elijah and Moses and Elise perform miracles. And he says, these signs you do. And Jesus answered and said, to him, most assuredly I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Nicodemus said to him, how can a man be born when he is old? Did he enter a second time into his father's womb to be born? Jesus answered, most assuredly I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God.
That which is born of the flesh is flesh. That which is born of the spirit is spirit. You're not